welcome along. Thanks for being here. So today we're talking about running successful fundraising events. Obviously, events are a core reason why your organisation exists. It's the main reason why members pay money to work and play with other like-minded people. So they're really, really important for your organisation. So today we're talking about, as part of this series, how they plug in to your world and how we might be able to do a better job over the coming 12 months. So I've broken it down into 3 areas: planning for your events, executing on the event to make it a success, and then post-event, what do we do? How do we look back at these events and go around again? So first of all, planning. So we'll go back to the 666 strategy, as mentioned in previous sessions. The 666 is just the strategy that I use for nonprofits. You have your own strategy document, whatever catchy phrase you have for that one. But ideally, you already have an idea as to what your 6-month plan is. And as part of that 6-month planning, you'll be plugging in your events. For sports organizations, that usually revolves around the playing schedule. When your pre-season, in-season, post-season is. For many other organizations, there's still seasons because there's summer and winter months, and that usually means or dictates what sort of activities you can and can't do. And of course, there's an AGM as well, which is usually the full stop on the year for most organizations, and perhaps the starting point for the next year. And it's at those points that we do the 6-month planning to understand where we're going. If your events aren't part of your 6-month plans, I dare say that they should be, because most events probably need 6 months of thinking and space to really plug it into a calendar and to build up to it. When we break it down into 6-week planning, as you do with the 666 strategy, you'd be talking about the 6 weeks that are coming up every 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whenever your committee meetings are. So you'd have a pretty good idea. So that's the solid, locked in plan for your 6 weeks. Worst case scenario, it means that you've got 6 weeks to plan your event, which is still a good amount of time to get most events up and going. Events pushing you towards those 6-year objectives, 6-year goals that you might have. So that can dictate what sort of events you're running. If you're wanting to be a more strategic member of the community, maybe it's involving more other community partners in your events and the type of events that you're having. If it's been a key part of a specific industry segment, then maybe it means more specific networking events or breakfasts or whatever it might be. So it's really, really important that we're taking the big sort of macro view and then understanding how those events are doing it, pushing us towards that. What I often saw was, why are we doing this event? Well, it's because we've always done this event. And there's never any questions about why we're doing it, how much money we make from this thing, is it worth it from a monetary sense, let alone a strategic sense, and all those sorts of questions. So it's always important to reflect on these things. So what are some of the goals that you have for the event? So it's obviously really important that we map out the why behind these events. So what's the purpose of the dollars that you're raising? As mentioned, that will dictate where you're going. If it's all about just surviving, well, then that's going to be a different sort of event as opposed to a more strategic type goals of getting different stakeholders or more important stakeholders in the same room to make things happen. It also drives the type of events. So obviously there's, broadly speaking, 2 types of events. You can have high ticket price events, your corporate lunches and networking breakfasts and things like that, where people will pay $100+ for a ticket, versus low ticket price events where you're hoping to get a larger number of people, like your quiz nights or walking events and things like that, where people are only paying, maybe they're getting in for nothing, maybe they're getting in for $10 a head or $20 a head, $50 a head, etc. For it all. So really important that those goals end up driving the types of events and the types of tickets that you end up selling. As mentioned, we've got to align the events with the mission that the organisation is on. And we want to think and reflect on some of the best events that you've been to. We've all been to amazing events, and we've all been to events that have been less amazing. So really reflecting on what made them really, really great events. Some of the events where food is involved, food often seems to be a point of contention as to it took too long to get the food, it wasn't good enough food, why couldn't we have the nibbles, etc., etc. Sometimes it's about the MCs or how long the speeches were. All those sorts of things can really change the reflections of the attendees. So it's important that you guys think about them and talk about them as organisers with it all. That's a typo. There should be table stakes. So as an organisation, what are the table stakes for your event? So what are we going to do that ensures that we're not going to be a bad event for everyone that's attending? Some examples of that might be that we're not going to have really long speeches. So one of the things that we've been noticing over the years is that people don't want to hear 20-minute long speeches anymore. But it's a really good idea to record those speeches because they're usually from really important people, presidents, or arguably local politicians or people of that ilk that have something to say. They have stories to tell and those sorts of things. They're not the main event, but they do want their 2 cents. And maybe that's a really good opportunity to record them and put them up on YouTube or Facebook or those sorts of things. I'm not saying that that's what should happen. I'm just suggesting that that's an idea that is worth considering as you go through the event planning process. So brainstorming. So take some time at the start of the 6 months to brainstorm ideas that will align with goals, mission, budget, resources, and the people that you have on hand. So obviously there's a bunch of different ideas out there for events. I think sports community professes to have 100 different events or event templates in their kit bag. Similar organizations like ClubMap, obviously google.com is a pretty good searching place for different sort of non-profit fundraising events as well. One point is having the same event recurring every single year at the same time actually wins more votes from people because people look forward to it and they know that it happens every time at this every time of year at the same time of year. And it's good for sponsors. It's good for people that want to get involved with it, provided that it's a winning event. So provided that people are actually enjoying the event. The corporate lunch is a winner. It happens every year in July. Then you should keep it going and keep it running at the same time, same place every single year. Budgeting. So budget is a really important thing to be doing before your event, well before your event, 6 weeks before your event. And, basics, how much do you need to get the event up? Events are worth investing in, which I'll talk a bit more about later. Like I said, they're one of the core reasons why your organization exists, and they're a core fundraising tool for the organization. So investing in them to be a success is really important, including budgeting for them. Understanding what's the profit margin, how much are we going to actually make from that? I know in my organizations, we had events just because we've always had quiz nights and we've always had various social fundraising events. And when I asked the question, well, how much do we make from these events? Nobody could really tell me the truth, which is some events we actually lost money. So it's really, really important to understand, well, have we made or lost money as part of that event? Another important point is sponsors typically budget 12 months in advance. So going out to a sponsor and saying 6 weeks out, hey, can you please give us a few $1,000s to put your logo at the front of an event, may not always be a winning formula. So make sure that you're asking your sponsors up front. A really good thing to do is trying to have sponsors pay you up front, invoicing them before the event to have their signage around and be part of the event, be the headline sponsor for your event, because it can often cover that first point, which is how much you need to have the event running, which is a really, really great way to do it. You can have a sponsor giving you, $3,000, $5,000, whatever it might be for the naming rights of your event, or it could be a bundle of events, which works really well. They can help pay for that event as you go. And budget is always important to review post-event. Everyone talks about it pre-event and then they never reflect on it post-event. But it's really important to, the week after your event happens, review and understand how much money did we take in, how much money could we have taken in, where could we have saved money, where should we have spent more money, etc. So things that you should be considering about budgeting. So where you typically spend money that you need to be thinking about: invitations, marketing costs, advertising costs, getting collateral together, shooting video, whatever it is that you're doing to promote the event. Entertainment equipment, so hiring PA systems or hiring venues, those sorts of things. Catering, obviously, bar, staffing, third-party events management teams, printing, could be table cards, all sorts of things, renting any equipment that you might have, activity equipment, and any other incidentals that might come along. That they should all be in your budget. Having a templated budget specifically for events can be a really easy way to carry it on. Once before we've set up the event, it's always good to have a bit of a marketing plan, which we've spoken about in a previous webinar for communications. A really easy way to do this is to understand, okay, we've got 6 weeks before the event. This is what's going to happen in the 6 weeks leading out to it. We're going to promote it. How are we going to promote it? Who's our target audience? How are we going to reach out to these people in our target audience? Paid advertising is something that nonprofits and small community clubs don't do enough of, in my opinion. It's actually relatively cheap on things like Facebook and bits and pieces like that to promote to a very specific targeted geographical location, which most community organisations are. And you can really target by interests and what their people are intrigued by or like, and things like that. And you can also obviously get in touch with a local newspaper to get an article in there, because they're usually looking for content in their newspapers as well. Another underutilized area to consider with your marketing plan is other clubs, other like-minded clubs, other groups in the community that need to fill out their newsletter as well, and cross-promote. It's really, really good way to get the message out about your event. Also, other peak bodies, local government, groups like that also have their networks as well. It helps with sponsorships. It helps with all sorts of things by getting a bigger audience that you're going out to. Excuse me. Big ticket items, things that you should never forget about, but sometimes do happen. Before you promote the event is making sure that you've locked in the date and time for the event. It sounds like an absolute no-brainer, but it has happened. Promoting the event before you've actually locked in the venue and locked in the MC or the special guest or the entertainer or whatever the core critical big ticket things are for that event. Make sure you lock in these things before going out and promoting it to various people. Sponsors, again, sponsorship isn't something that's done well, but it's also for most of our organizations that are in Australia, sponsors are really, really hard to find and keep. So I don't pretend that I've got a silver bullet for that one. It's just a whole lot of door knocking. But aligning existing sponsors to your events and what they think would be a great idea to run as events is always a good idea. And finding new sponsors for specific events can also help. So if there is a walking event, or if there's a corporate lunch or things like that, finding specific sponsors that really align to those sorts of events. There's always companies that want you to get in front of your niche of members, depending on what they do and where they live and what they're interested in. So really going hard with sponsors can help with that. And as mentioned previously, cash sponsorship up front, it's always nice, and it helps covers those initial costs. Easier said than done, I realize that, but it's worth asking the question. Strong hint is practice the event and call out these what if moments. So as you have your event subcommittee, hopefully, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but you'll create an event subcommittee, a smaller group of people that have been tasked with running a successful event. Go around the circle and call out what if moments. What happens if it rains? What happens if the MC gets sick? What happens if the person facilitating the quiz night can't make it? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? How should we ask for donations in event? So that's, again, another underutilized area, is asking for donations in event. It always feels a little bit awkward to ask for more money whilst people are sitting down to enjoy their Friday evening. But it's, again, an underserved part of fundraising in local government groups, local community groups. So how, practicing the timeline of your event is really, really good to understand exactly, this is how the night's going to open. This is how we're going to check people in. This is how we're going to serve food. This is how they're going to get to the bar, to the toilet, enjoy themselves and get out the other end is really, really important. Events and ticketing page. So we'll jump into Tidy here. Obviously you can, or you might be using lots of different events tools. Hopefully Tidy is one of them for your events management. So with TidyHQ events, hopefully this is fairly familiar for you, but to set up an event is pretty straightforward. I think this is a new events page. So it starts with the name of the event, make it as catchy as you can with it all, add an image to your event. For images, for example, we have used Canva to get these event images for ourselves. Canva is a pretty neat tool that's another Australian startup that's doing very well for itself because it's a really great service. What time the event starts, what time it ends, the location of the event, any limit on the venue, so the maximum number of tickets that can be sold for that venue. You can have multi-day events here. A tip for multi-day events, if that's what you're doing, is adding multiple days here for the start and end time for the event, and just having different tickets for the different days if that's something that you want to be doing. You can add in your description. You can add in sponsors' logos into your description. Description is really quite flexible with how you can customize it and tweak it and format it to how you want. Adding a schedule. So that's your agenda for your event. Event opens at this time, MC's on for the first 10 minutes, guest speaker here, all those sorts of things. You can add the schedule. It's completely optional. It may not be suitable. So you can ignore it if you want. You can also add tickets. So you can add paid and free tickets, which I'll get into in a moment as well. Collect additional attendee information and automatically add contacts to a contact group as well. So automatically adding all your attendees into a contact group becomes really powerful if you want to send them an email like I've done with you guys this afternoon to invite you or send you the Zoom link. I automatically added attendees to a group and then sent you an email with the Zoom link. So member-specific ticketing. So when we set up a ticket, a paid ticket or a free ticket, you can click on the settings area and add additional information to that specific ticket description, when that specific ticket sale starts and ends. You can have a ticket limit per order. So that's how many tickets someone can purchase in a single checkout. And then you can tick the requires membership box. So if you want to channel people into a specific membership because they get a $50 ticket to the event instead of a $100 ticket, you can check this requires membership box and select a specific membership or any memberships. And that way people will have to log in so the system can validate that they actually have an active membership of the type that you need or require, and then purchase that ticket as they go through. Really easy way to try and push more people into purchasing a membership with you. Ticketing information. So you can collect additional attendee information. So meal preferences are a common one with it all. So make sure that they're optional or required, that they are specific for each event at the moment. So you can use it to obviously understand how you should be catering for the event or what have you with it all. That last box there, automatically adding contacts to a group is, again, I'll bang on about this because I think it's really, really important that you keep that checked. We do have plans to automatically do this just as par for the course, but automatically adding contacts to a group means that you can contact that group of attendees far more easily into the future. So it's something that I'd suggest that you always tick. Manually adding attendees. So Isaac comes up to you, and because he's one of those characters, he says, I don't want to buy online. Here's $20, take my money. I'm good for it, or I'm good for it. And just put me down. I'm good for it. I don't have the cash on me now. I don't have the card on me now. You can send an invoice through here. So at the top right of your event, there's a bunch of different options for you. This is where you can also export the attendees list for manual check-ins on the day. You can also generate a group from your attendees if you haven't checked that box that I previously mentioned. And there's a bunch of different options there as well. Duplicating the event's another important one. But at the top of the list, there's add attendee. So this is for manually adding an attendee. We pick our contact, or you can add a new one. The type of purchase, so has it been paid? What sort of payment was used? Was it a bank transfer? Was it cash, etc.? Or do they need an invoice? And at what date is that invoice due? You can add in those options, add the tickets to the attendee, and they'll either have been marked down as fully paid, and under the finances transactions section, it'll be recorded there, or alternatively, it'll be in the outstanding payments area if an invoice was sent to them, and they'll have an invoice in their inbox, and they'll know that you're on their tail trying to follow them up with it all. Promotion. So you've got it all set up. You've got the event page set up. Now you've got the tickets all done, and now you want to promote it. So within that event page that we've just set up in Tidy, there's also a short link that you can use and promote. You can publish it, obviously, in all the social media channels that you might have, your Twitters, Facebook, any instant messaging groups that you might have with WhatsApp or Telegram, etc. You can paste it and post it wherever you like with it all. Going back to the planning area, obviously you've got a target audience. You know who you're trying to get out to beyond your immediate members as well. Obviously, your events are a great opportunity to try and reach further to find new members and find new people that are interested in it. So utilizing Facebook ads and things like that to promote the event further is really, really good. And as mentioned, Canva is a nice tool for additional creative imagery and things like that that might help the Facebook posts and Instagrams, etc. along. Another hint is that you can easily duplicate an event, as mentioned in that menu at the top right of your Tidy event. You can easily duplicate the events for next time. So the idea is that we're getting smarter, and you can also promote to those that came last time. So everyone that went to the quiz night last year, you can easily find them in the CRM, in the contacts database, and send them an email saying, hey, event's on again. Enjoy yourselves again in 2022, which is a really, really good way to do it. A lot of organizations do the equivalent of putting a poster up on the wall and pointing at it and saying, hey, come again, or putting it on a Facebook wall and saying, hey, come again. But we should be more proactive and smarter and understand who came last time, because they're more likely to come again. So how do we get things done with our team? So organisers, as mentioned previously, you want to be setting up a bit of a subcommittee for an event. Having one person trying to do all of this is possible. There are those people in our organizations that can do it all. You're amazing, but you're probably more amazing with some more people around you. And it's a great way to groom people into more senior committee roles as well. So break down the event into the different jobs to be done. So what needs to get done to make this event a success? Booking venues, equipment, people, setting up your Tidy events page, looking after registrations, answering any questions that registrants have, manually registering attendees if needed. How are we going to promote it? Who's doing all the promotions? When the event is in play, so on the day, who's looking after the MC? Who is MCing? How are we going to check in our attendees? Who's going to be at the front door, ticking them off as they come through? Post-event, do we have a checklist for post-event? Because you should. Follow up attendees and sponsors, send them out a thank you email. Make sure that you thank absolutely everyone. Review your budget, as mentioned before. Make sure we understand, did we make money from this event? If we did not make money, why not? How can we do this better? Non-profits are always good at asking the question of, we should be saving money, but you should also be asking, how can we spend more money to make more money with these events? How can we invest into these events better? And lastly, send out a survey. Surveys which primarily asking, how can we get better? What could we be doing more of? Do you have any other ideas for a great event? They're your membership, they're your target audience. As we know, everyone's got an opinion. Opinions are worth exactly what opinions are, but they're a great idea to get a bit of a feel for your membership with it all. And you can, of course, use tasks in Tidy to keep a track of what's going on and what's outstanding for getting that event done, which makes the job really, really easy. Within each event page, there is a tasks section, so you can see explicitly what tasks are involved with this event to have happen. Another hint, or maybe even just questions. So volunteers versus professionals. Most of us and just about all of our administrators in Tidy are volunteers, but professionals are pretty good at doing their job. And again, most volunteers don't like spending any money. I know I'm very tight-fisted when I've got my volunteer hat on at my local community group, but you've always got to be asking the question of investing money in. Money in equals money out with these events. So events are worth investing in, like I've said at the top of this presentation. So you need to actually invest in them. Hiring events managers is really, really well worth it, provided you can cover the costs, of course. But it is worth spending the money to have a more serious event that's more professionally run, because it will attract more sponsors, more attendees, and all those things. So taking the planning seriously, the fact that you're here says that you are taking planning seriously, which is excellent. But hopefully you can get the rest of your events committee on board as well with taking that planning seriously, having a bit of a dry run through, because that's really what makes events a success. And thank everyone, absolutely everyone that was involved in your event, because everyone's taking time out of their schedule to be a part of it. Attendees, sponsors, organisers, local government, the venue, suppliers, any other supporters or stakeholders that might have helped or passed the message on or helped get more people involved. Regardless of how little or how much they did, make sure you thank them, because they can come back stronger and better than ever. Another tip: with a lot of community groups that are with us have local club rooms and facilities and things like that. Handing out tickets to the local mayor or local councillors is a great way to get them on side, and shouting about them at these events can help with future fundraising and investment into your club rooms as well. Hot tip. So it's worth investing in that way as well, with getting people along that can sort of beef up the crowd and get it going. And lastly, probably most critically, is to make sure that you're having fun and your team is having fun, the committee is having fun, that it's not just a grind, because I know how exhausting these events are with putting them on, and usually the organisers get little to no recognition out the other end. So make sure that you're having fun and everyone's enjoying it. At the end of the day, not many people went to your organisation to be an events person. They probably went there to enjoy their hobby. So keeping that in mind and making sure that you're trying to have fun or treat them well, take them out for dinner afterwards, give them a big thank you, all those sorts of things, makes the world of difference with everyone.